Hello and welcome to this video. Today we're going to take a look at a pair of Norwegian M77 military boots and talk a little bit about my experiences with them, how they perform, how a little bit of history and so on. Now, as you can see, they are a black pair of fully leather boots except the rubber sole. As the name implies, these were adopted in 1977, but it would take quite a few years for these to become standard. So these would have gone to special forces and troops serving outside of Norway first. But starting about the sort of mid to late 80s, these became pretty standard. Now, the boots that they replaced were these. These are called M66, and they are. Hang on. They are pretty similar in some ways, like the way the seams meet here. Triple stitched seams, and they also have this groove on the backside for attaching ski bindings, as you can imagine would be a very good thing to have in a place like Norway. But the overall shape is not all the same, and these have a slightly sort of, if you can see, sort of smoother tip to make it easier to polish, and the M77 does have that as well, but it's not. Now these are, I've worn these for years, so they've slightly smoothened up, but it's you can sort of see it's a little bit pebbled here, so but that's pretty much the only differences. But believe it or not, the older ones and the shorter ones, or let's say the ankle boots, are actually heavier. I think most of the weight is in the rubber sole, and I have heard rumors that there's actually a metal plate embedded into the heel to make it more heavy and to make more sound when marching. But that's not too sure about that. So let's get this back up here. Sorry. So, as I said, full leather construction and rubber boots. These have a quite distinctive pattern. Here you have this shield is sort of this standard way of marking Norwegian military property, and 10 means it's produced in 2010. So that's the size, 45, European size, and this is the length of the inside of the sole in millimeters. So yeah, these kind of stand a bit out as far as leather military boots go, because as you can see, they have these D rings down here, but just for the first four. And then when you the last four aren't rings, but are these, if you can see, they are hooks. Now the purpose of these hooks is to make it easier to put on and off quickly, and I'm actually going to show you how to do it very quickly, because it means you don't have to redo the knot every time. You can just when you, let's say you go to sleep either at the barracks or when you're out in the field, and should you have to get up very quickly, you can just put this on and do the lacing really quickly. Now that's very good thing about this. yeah, as I said, these sort of became more common around the 1980s, mid 1980s, and have pretty much stayed the main sort of service boot in the Norwegian military. There are others sort of specialty boots, some of which are based on this design and some of which are not. But they're pretty much all made by the same, well, they have the same brand name, which is Alpha, a well-known Norwegian shoe manufacturer. But you also have one that has like it's called like a light field boot or a office boot, because it's lighter, and you also have this sort of panel of, I'm not really sure what material it's, but something strong and breathable material down here to make it better for summer use. Now those are not standard. Most unit commanders will let you buy your own if you don't have them issued. And there's also the pilot's boots, which doesn't have these hooks, because as you can imagine, inside a cockpit or generally inside an aircraft, these hooks might get caught on something. So, but anyways, it's standard for every Norwegian soldier to get 2 pairs of these, one for everyday and field use, and one for when you go on leave. And obviously the ones you have on leave are meant for you're supposed to polish them very well, and as you can see here, I haven't really done a fantastic job of polishing these, but hey ho. Now I have had these for about 5 years, and I used them almost every week for about 3 years, and they've been they have barely been used since then, and they've done pretty well so far. As with most well-made leather shoes and boots, if you don't abuse them, they get more comfortable the more you wear them, and that's definitely the case with these boots. These do provide a fairly good support, but as time goes on, they sort of becomes different. They don't have the same sort of ankle support as they used to have, but so that's something to think about. But that's obviously not unique to these. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how a new pair of unissued boots look like. Here you have them, and they're pretty. The toe is pretty hard. Here it's kind of softened up. Not here. It's actually pretty hard. And these ones still have the tag on it. It says Protex. Now Protex, they don't actually own the brand name and the patent on these, but they have produced them for about 10 or 15 years now, and they are located in Estonia. So not unfortunately not Norwegian made anymore, but Protex, they're not a bad brand by any means, but there have been some complaints about after they moved them to the production to Estonia, about some people feel the quality of the leather and the overall handiwork isn't as good as it used to be, and there was actually quite a bad flaw with some of the first batches that came out of Estonia, in that the heel part right here would, after some use, it would grind off and just leave it flat on the backside here, meaning that water would come very easily up the boot. and obviously not be as comfortable anymore. And that actually happened to two pairs of boots I had issued. So that's something to think about. But after that, I don't think, after those few bad batches, I don't think there's been any problem with that. But there have been other complaints, like they not being comfortable, and that they don't break in, they break out, and that they become uncomfortable and way too soft, way too early. So that's something you should think about if you ever think of buying these. You should take that into consideration. But as I said, mostly good, and I have only had good experiences with this, except for the soles, the heel part grinding off. Now, so let's show you here. They are not lined in any way, but on the sort of front part here, they're lined with, I believe it's real wool, actually, for comfort. They don't really provide any insulating power. And as far as maintaining these in the field, they're pretty easy to maintain and wear comfortably in the field. Now, while they are technically heat resistant, you shouldn't abuse these by drying them out in front of a fire too much, because that will cause damage to the leather over time. And so don't do that. I had a few of my fellow soldiers going to that trick and having to get a new pair. This is the production date. So you have the 25th week of 2014, and the either the lot number or the serial number, I'm not too sure. And a few tips as far as breaking this in are what you do the first day on boot camp. As far as I know, every unit does this, is that when you first get your uniform and your kit, you put this on, and then you leave this open and you spray water into it and fill it up with water to basically help break in the boots, and it works very well. Haven't had any issues with that. Now, one thing that may be an issue if you have sensitive or in some way damaged knee joints or feet or anything. These don't have a great deal of dampening ability to them. The rubber sole are pretty hard and they don't do a lot to save your precious feet. And that's not to say they're uncomfortable, but as I said, if you have any issues with your feet or anything like that, you may want to skip these. Now, they do come with, let's see, they do come with a pair of felt and leather insoles, and let's see if I get one out. So pretty hard leather on one side and felt on the other. What's pretty common to do is to put the felt to the top, because obviously that's the most comfortable, and I think, what's wrong with that? You shouldn't do that. You should put it the other way around, with the leather up, because if you get moisture into the boots, the moisture will go on the underside, on the felt, and help keep your feet dry. And actually, they're pretty hard now, but just a little bit of breaking in, and they shape pretty nicely to your feet. But they don't, as with the soles themselves on the boots, they don't have any dampening abilities, so take that into consideration. These will work fine with other insoles as well, but these are just the issue ones. So let's just take a better look at these. As you can see, soles have been grinding off on the outer side on both of them. That may just be an indication of the way I walk. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention these. If you look at the boot from the top, you'll see these straight lines that may look a little bit weird. What are those for? Those are actually for ski bindings as well, in combination with the grooves in the back. So the main Norwegian army sort of ski bindings are, you have like a metal sort of almost like a spring that goes on the back of your shoe, and then the tip of the boot sort of go into a pair of clamps, sort of clamps onto like this, and then you have a strap that goes over, and that's a pretty secure type of binding. Now I haven't actually tried using these directly on skis, because usually if it's cold enough to be snowing and to go out using your skis, it's usually cold enough to wear a pair of sort of outer boots, kind of like a pair of waders actually, but they're not entirely waterproof. Kind of they're rubber on the bottom, and sort of depending on when they were produced, just like a rough canvas or like a rubberized thing to keep them a little bit more dry. Those work pretty well in combination with these. So I think I've said everything I wanted to say about these. If you have any questions or anything like that, just leave it down below, and thank you for watching.